Welcome to Saturday Morning Live, the afternoon edition at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And obviously, I am your host from coast to coast, Sal Santori. Thanks for joining us today. And our host today, or our guest rather, yeah, uh, I'm not paranoid, but sometimes I am, you know. Our guest today is a longtime great friend of mine by the name of Brian Craig. Brian is the Register of Wills for Lebanon County, and he's up for re-election. So we want to invite Brian on and talk about his accomplishments and the ideas he has for the future, and even more just what kind of soldier Brian is and has been. Brian is not only a veteran, but he's currently serving in the National Guard and has quite a few years in the military. And Brian and I first met when I was interviewing Congressman at the time, Charlie Dent. And Brian was very gracious in helping me to get that interview. And here we are. Brian, thanks for coming on the show, brother.
Thank you very
And,
much. Thank you for having me.
Give us a little bit of an idea of your background.
Well, I did notice in your introduction, I'm in the Air National Guard.
Okay.
So
okay.
airman, but that's okay. I have worked with soldiers. Actually, just recently, I was working with under the Army Command when I was down at the inauguration for
Okay.
President Trump. So that was a great experience. But I worked with the Army. I've worked with the Navy. Um, I've worked with the Marines and even with the Space Force. So we're all troops. We're all serving. I'm very proud of that. But yes, my regular full-time job is the Register of Wills and Clerk of Orphans Court for Lebanon County, and that's an extremely meaningful position here in Lebanon County. I get to help folks with their marriage licenses, with adoption, with guardianships, with their probate, which is dealing with the estates after somebody has passed away. So these are all very important things, major life um,
Situations, really. Yeah. Yeah.
major points in everybody's life, and with their property, with their companies, whatever it is, and to try to handle that in a professional, in a legal way where we look to what the people in Harrisburg have said this is the proper way to do it um, in that way as much as possible, while providing customer service and providing the capabilities that people are looking for, things like um, being able to do some things remotely at times, giving people access to information as much as possible. Just this last year, we created a website. So I actually don't have the website on me, or it's on the Lebanon County website. So if you go to the Lebanon County website, go to Register of Wills, there's a link there where now you can access most of our records online, so at home.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Which is something new. A couple years ago, we started doing virtual probates, virtual marriage licenses for people
Oh, wow.
who needed that service. Again, it's my belief that if you can come into the office, if you're not handicapped, if you're not a long distance away, that the law seems to me to say that is the priority. If we
Right.
can,
The
if
best
we can,
protocol.
if we can swear you in person and see your face and look at your identification, that's the best way to identify somebody. That's the best way to make somebody understand that they're under oath to do things properly. If you're not handicapped, if you're not a long distance away.
I guess what I'm hearing is, you definitely are the man to understand like the proper protocol, the legal way to go about it.
Mhm.
So there's nothing creeping up later,
Exactly.
to come back and really upset the folks. And at the same time, you're being empathetic and you're looking for
Mhm.
ways to add the human side of it.
Mhm. Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, okay, yeah. That to me that really is special. There's too many situations where it's like take a number and next, and yeah, and I'm not getting that from you.
I try not to do that. I hope people don't get that from me. Like I said, need to follow the law. For example, there have been times where people have been not happy with the service we provided, but that's usually, I think they're not happy with the law. For example, we've
Okay.
had a couple of people who were dual Russian citizens, I guess, or
Okay.
something like
Okay.
that. And they came to us and they said, we want a document and we want it. And Russia doesn't accept the documents that you provided. And I have to tell them, well, we're not in the business of creating a document that complies with the government of Russia's
Right.
requirements.
Right.
We create a document that complies with the requirements of the United States and the state of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So those, you can't make everybody happy, but we do our best to follow the law, and in following the law, providing the best customer service that we can.
Right. That's important. People come in and you don't know where they are and inside. If it's like an estate that, like you're mentioning after the fact, there's a whole lot of other things going on inside with these folks, and
Absolutely.
yeah, to have someone empathetic as yourself is
Yes.
major.
Empathetic. And again, sometimes you do have people, unfortunately, in these situations, probate, where there might be different opinions on, siblings or family members, and that you try to be understanding with them. But you can't take a side. You can't take their side.
Right.
You need
Right.
to take the side of the law, which is what I try
Yeah.
to fall on, the side of the law.
Let's talk a little bit about your military career, if we
Sure.
could. Okay. What motivated you to initially enter the service?
It's a very interesting story. I didn't enlist till I was 27. I wish that I would have done it when I was 18. It has been, outside of being a father, the most, and a Christian, the most rewarding part of my life. I've been able to literally help save lives, and serve my country around the world. But I enlisted. I went to school for public policy.
Okay.
I wanted to be involved in government, and I thought that was a calling that I had to make the world better by that I understood that. I was very interested in that. I was working night shift at a job, and I was working day shift for the McCain campaign, volunteering back in 2008. And obviously that didn't work out. We actually had very high numbers in Lebanon County for the McCain campaign compared to all the surrounding counties around us. I was running 3 phone banks for the McCain campaign and had hundreds of volunteers. And but it was one county out of the entire country.
Right.
And unfortunately, that didn't work out. President Obama became president. But after that, I was looking for kind of a way to continue to serve my country. Didn't really have a whole lot of direction. And I was actually working night shift with a Marine reservist at the time. And he was like, did you ever think of going into the Air National Guard? And I was like, no, but now that you say it, that sounds like something very interesting. So I went and talked to a recruiter and enlisted in the Air National Guard. And I have been able to work with remote piloted aircraft in Afghanistan. I was not in Afghanistan when I worked with them, but and I've also deployed to the Middle East a couple of times, working with satellites and imagery technology. I've been able to work with such amazing people that are helping protect people here, but also protect people all over the world, eliminating threats.
Let me just inject something here. This, a lot of folks are saying, and more so now than even before, why are we in other countries? And I'll give my answer and see, if you support that. But the reason we're in other countries is to make sure they're not able to come here.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. But, go all the way back to World War II. We found out that if Americans just stay here, the world is a basket case. Unfortunately, America is that, unfortunately for some people, but fortunately for the world, really, America is that shining city on a hill. America is the land of freedom and the land that has the resources to protect itself. A lot of the world doesn't have the resources or just chooses not to do what's needed to really protect themselves. But we saw in 9/11, which was kind of a defining moment. Again, other than being a father and choosing to follow Christ, 9/11 was probably the defining moment of my life. I had just started college.
Okay.
And I remember that morning getting in the shower and turning on the radio and hearing the radio show, them talking about planes crashing or something. And I was like, this is really weird. They usually are telling jokes at this time of the morning. They're not talking about this kind of stuff. And then turning on the TV, seeing the smoke billowing out of those buildings, seeing the second plane hit the second tower, seeing people falling, jumping out of those buildings. Again, I didn't enlist right after that, but I remember signing up for the 9/11 class, a year later. I remember watching the TV every single day, watching Fox News, watching. It impacted me, it changed my philosophy in a lot of ways and how I viewed the world and how I viewed the world as someone who was studying policy and politics. And so it kind of was a no-brainer for me after, I had volunteered with the McCain campaign, that this was a way I could serve my country and serve the world, to protect America, because that's what we were doing in the early 2000s.
Right.
Friends, everybody was signing up. Every young person was signing up for the military. I felt like, not everybody, but a lot of people around here were doing that. They felt like this was a calling of our generation to eliminate, to make sure this never happened again.
Right. I remember very clearly the video clip of President Bush at the time in a Florida classroom, reading stories to kids in the class, and the fellow coming up and telling him what had just transpired, and there was like a total non-reaction on his part. And that my immediate thought was he wasn't being told something he didn't already know, which was pretty much after that I've discovered I wasn't alone in that thinking. But that was, like you say, that was definitely a defining moment, and sparked a whole lot of emotion in Americans.
Mm-hmm.
What I know you spent several years in the military, and not only do I know you for several years, but also I visited on your bio,
Mm-hmm.
bio, and you have a lot of service in as far as not just government, but helping communities, helping the Lebanon County folks. What were you doing like prior to Charlie Dent?
Prior to Charlie Dent, I actually worked for the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission for a few years, which seeing I saw some people get arrested there, some of the corruption in government, which I have, I applaud what, people like President Trump and Elon Musk are doing right now to kind of root out the fraud, waste, and abuse.
I am just like totally outraged to see the billions that are sent to other countries and the why behind it. And then I compare that to Kamala Harris in North Carolina actually feeling good about saying she's giving every citizen, or the government's giving $750. Okay. Well, not only is that like a punch right in the gut, but at that time, where were they going to spend it? You know?
Yeah.
So not only was it like a humiliating gesture, but it was like, even on top of that was even worse. Like, there's nothing you can do with it. But to see the amount of money that's was going outside the tree, and then you come back and look at this, and then the whole 4 years of Biden, 8 years of Obama, and it's like that's 12 years of
Absolutely.
horrendous deeds on our folks, and I saw where somebody was talking about, on one of the social media platforms I visit, and they were talking about, the history of, hey, missing a car payment, not being able to get something for your child that they need, and on and on and on, not wants based, but need based, not being able to do it. And here they are sending all this crazy money for crazy purposes. And it infuriated me. So when you're talking about applauding President Trump and Elon Musk, it's like, yeah,
Absolutely.
we can't be of enough support, I feel.
100%. 100%. I know I have had very minuscule ability to influence our government compared to those people at the national level, but I am very proud. And I've made enemies. If you don't make enemies, what have you done?
Right.
But when I was on Palmyra Borough Council, I'm very proud of the fact that I voted against tax raises every year that I was there. I would like to say that, unfortunately, I believe Palmyra Borough has the highest tax rate of any municipality in Lebanon County now, outside of Lebanon City. And we just did our highest tax raise ever this last year. I am supporting a slate of people, I believe that's not finalized yet, running for Palmyra Borough Council, that voted no for this tax increase, and they're trying to get a majority of people on Borough Council in Palmyra who will vote no to future tax increases. But I voted no, and I also voted. I proposed the idea of privatizing our trash service, because our trash service was costing us a lot of money. It was not growing because the borough was not growing. It's pretty much surrounded. It's pretty much built up as much as it can be built up, and our trash service would become more and more inefficient every year. And we needed to basically hire an outside. We owned our own trash service.
Okay.
So I was like, we need to contract a trash service from outside who, they're using a truck to collect trash in our borough, which is also being used to collect trash other places. They're paying fees, they're paying maintenance, but we were doing everything for our one little borough. So they would collect trash in a day. They'd in a week, they would have more time and capabilities than what they were actually using. So it was costing more and more money every year, becoming more and more inefficient because of all the requirements they do for maintenance, environmental requirements, fees. We could have saved, I believe my calculation was $1 million in less than 10 years. So basically saved the borough residents over $100,000 a year. It didn't pass. I had a majority of people on borough council willing to pass it, but a lot of government union people and so forth came to our borough meeting whenever I was doing the vote and convinced some people to not vote to privatize it. Well, what ended up happening was a couple years later, they had to privatize it because they could no longer afford the trash service. But the contractors that had provided really very good rates at the time were no longer interested. They said, you can go pound sand. We ended up going with, but the borough only had one bid. It was Waste Management, and it was the highest bid of any of the previous contractors. But it still was the right decision at the time because we could no longer afford our trash service. But those little things are minuscule. However, we're still talking about over $100,000 a year in savings, and we need people to step up to run for borough council, to run for local positions, county positions, because that is not insignificant money to the
Right,
people that
right.
live here in Lebanon County.
Well, and especially not now.
Absolutely
You
not
know,
now.
I saw eggs incredibly a dozen and a half for
Mhm.
$10.
Yeah,
You know, and I've been saying for a long time, you know, I don't understand what the chickens are eating to be laying such expensive eggs. And then
yes.
I discovered how the director of the EPA, a lady, I believe,
Hmm.
created this whole thing with the bird flu, and from there it was just the
Yeah.
domino effect to where we are now. And I believe she's been removed, but it's like this is just incredible. You know how badly. What do they want that they're justified to try and kill off the American people?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
starve us. What's going on?
I can't say to know much about that. I can say that when I was a kid, I never paid for eggs because I spent my summers at my grandparents' farm. When I grew up, fortunately, my grandparents passed away. The family had to sell the farm, but I did get to grow up on a farm, helping to stack hay, bales of hay. They had an ice business. I helped deliver ice, but I grew up in the summer and even sometimes before school, I'd go out and I'd deliver some ice to Leeds Corner or some of these local stores, to the ice boxes
Leeds
out in
Corner, is
front.
that Lehigh County?
No, Leeds Corner is in Campbelltown.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah, there's
okay,
a brewery there now. It used to be a gas station and
okay.
a little store that sold like a mini mart, and I think they had like a deli area and that sort of thing. But a lot of the local businesses here. But I spent, my summers and my time on the farm. I helped feed the cows once in a while when some cows would escape. I'd help my grandpa um,
You obviously
round up
didn't
the
have
cows.
you obviously didn't have up no cattle crossing signs, did you?
No, 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 absolutely not. No. But that was, I was fortunate to have that sort of childhood.
And that sort of work ethic,
Mhm.
and forgive me, but I'm going to bring that all the way forward to who you are now. I think everyone can agree it takes all of our life experiences, every one of them, to make us the person we are today in this given moment.
It does.
And I'm hearing such extraordinary. I'm not live on the air right now. Don't worry about it. Um, but it takes all of our life experiences to be who we are in this given moment.
Mhm.
And I'm listening to everything, and I'm looking back at the I'm looking back at the I'm looking back. Yes, I'm looking back at the what you're telling me, and as far as the things that you're doing in the office for the Register of Wills, and I'm hearing special. Not like, well, yeah, this is my job, and I believe in our government, and you know, I'm hearing people first, and let's make sure we do everything properly so we
Yes.
avoid problems coming up. And if there's any way I can really help you as a person, I will do so.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I just really believe it's a simple philosophy. I believe in good government that does its job within the bounds. Whenever I find a way to reduce our budget to save the people money, I implement it. Whether sometimes it's $1,000, sometimes it's $100. My office is small. I have 3 staff, great ladies. I have the same staff that I had when I started. Actually,
Okay.
I believe in professionalism, and if the people know how to do their job, you don't get rid of them. You
Right.
keep them
Right.
on.
Right.
Recently, there was a office in Dauphin County where Democrat chairman or vice chairman, I believe, was elected to, and she fired the whole staff, hired her own
Cronies.
basically in it, and she was, I believe, the judges just just eliminated her from her office because her office had was failing to do its legal responsibilities. I've seen that happen a couple of times across the state for these county grow offices and that sort of thing. People are like, oh, people aren't really paying attention to this job, this position. Let's get this, do this person a political favor, and then they can hire their friends and their political cronies to work in this office. And that is the exact opposite of what I'm looking to do. I want to be professional. I want to have an office that does its job, that follows the law, that does what is legally required to do, and does that to the best of our ability.
Now, when are the elections coming up? How can people support you?
So the elections are, I believe, the third Tuesday in May. So actually this year, that would be May 20th. So it's always the primary election. So this is when you can vote for your party, Republican or Democrat, is always the third Tuesday in May, except for the presidential year when we move our election up because of the presidential primaries. So I would greatly appreciate every Republican to come out and vote for me and vote for an entire slate of Republicans in Lebanon County who have similar philosophy as I do. Support the law, support law enforcement. I'm running as a county with Sheriff Jeff Marley and DA Pierre Hess, who are both people who believe in law enforcement, who have been in law enforcement, whether it's the DA's office or Jeff Marley as a Lebanon police officer for their entire careers, practically. Pierre was a private attorney for a little bit, but people who are smart, people who have the background, who are professionals.
That's key.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
Key. Yeah,
they're not just some political crony, like you said, who doesn't have the experience. They're professionals. They believe in professionalism. They believe in following the law,
integrity,
and in integrity.
Yeah.
And they are Republicans who believe in doing things efficiently, finding ways to save people money, to run the office well, and that's it. We don't need to be adding big additional programs that are ways to spend your money.
Right.
Additionally, but we believe in giving you the best service we can and doing the proper job that we are in.
How would people be able to reach out to you, Brian, to whether it's a question or a need?
So the Register of Wills office, you can. I would say go to the county website. You can inform yourself by going to the county website, and off the top of my head, I believe it's LebanonCounty.gov. But let me just. LebanonCountyPA.gov. I'm sorry.
Okay.
LebanonCountyPA.gov is the website for just all the government services. But do that. I mean, you can call the office. You can. We have a We have an email address. Let me believe it's. Let me just double check that. I get the emails all the time. I don't email myself.
Right. Well, if someone.
But I also.
Go ahead.
I'm a little, because I'm here for political purposes, I have to be careful to separate the offices.
Right.
Right. I would just say Google.
Register
I don't want
Wills.
to. Register of Wills. If you have probate issues, if you want to get a marriage license, if someone passes away, and they have an estate. Now, I will tell people that if you have a bank account that's under $10,000, you can simply bring the death certificate and the receipt from like the funeral home or whatever.
Okay.
And that's enough. You don't need to open an estate for someone who doesn't have a whole lot of property. If they have a bank account under $10,000, you can close out the bank account by just doing that,
Okay. Okay.
being the next of kin. But like I said, I have to be careful because we're talking politics, to separate. There is
Right.
there is a separation between the actual government office, and if you come to my office and you need service, no one ever asks what party
Right.
you are.
Right. But with the
Um,
election, it kind of a little bit of a Chinese wall there to, yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
How
Yeah.
what number could folks use to call your office?
The Register of Wills office.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to. I feel like
This is merely a public service
public
question.
service.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
It's got nothing to do with elections. It's to help our listening audience and viewers.
so the public number is 717-228-4415. That's for general, like, probate,
Okay.
adoption services. The marriage license information number is 717-228-4414. So just the
Okay.
last digit that's different.
Yeah, I just
on
want
those
to. I just
two.
want to re-quantify that. These last couple of questions were strictly public service questions to let our viewers and listeners know
Yes.
how to access services. That's. I didn't wish to include any political bias
Sure.
there.
And let me see here. The new public case portal. Let me see if I can get that up. The internet's not very good here. I don't have
No.
that public case portal memorized.
What I will do is we're pretty much out of time for today.
Okay.
So I want to let everybody know if you have additional questions, if you have any needs at all, and obviously this is pro public service for our listeners and viewers. Feel free to contact me here. You can reach me at either sal@thekzcvo.org, or you can write to info.kzcvo@gmail.com. And as always, I put my phone number out there. If you're in crisis, call 717-455-7086. I will never not answer my phone. Thank you for tuning in. I want to thank our guest and my great friend, Brian Craig,
Thank you
for joining us today. And as always, we'll see you on Thursday. We do our Thursday afternoon edition of You Got It, Saturday Morning Live with Sal Santori. So we Thursday afternoon at 4. And until then, please remember, always find